It's interesting with all the sanctions, and Shai's correct. Like as we're driving around and we're seeing, a lot of people are protesting against what's happening in Ukraine. We got an interesting question, and Mike and myself were having this. Somebody was asking, is this a good time to be shorting Russian stocks, or are we trading the ruble, or are we shorting it? Because obviously when you see an entire stock market drop 45% in a day, which is like, wow, I mean, we can't even fathom that. But like, is this a good time if we're trying to make trades?
The Russian stock market is closed right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
look it up. They closed
wow.
it.
Yeah.
They halted trading, right?
Yeah, the all-time low was $10.34 for RSX. It's at 10.78. They halted.
Can you explain to them what RS?
RSX is like their equivalent of their index.
Mm-hmm.
So how you have VOO for the S&P 500, RSX is their index equivalent.
So that's the first thing I looked at.
Yeah.
So it hit its all-time low.
Yeah, because it probably would have went to $1 if they would have frozen.
And I think
halted trading.
Yeah, the reason why is because sanctions have been put in place. Heavy sanctions have been put in place on the Russian economy, on Russian oligarchs, which is the ruling class. Like even out here, what team is it? Chelsea.
Chelsea. Yeah.
The owner of Chelsea is a Russian oligarch.
Yeah.
And they're talking about taking his team, right?
Yeah. So I actually took the notes on that. So Rabanovich is his last name. If you're a Chelsea fan, I'm sure you know, or if you're a fan of Premier League. And so what he is decided to do is he tried to put the team into a trust. He was going to hand over the rights to it into a trust because of the sanctions. Now, they said that Ukraine has reached out to him in support, and people don't really know how the conversation is going, but if they're freezing your assets and you're in a country like the UK and you're getting your money is tied in Russia, you can obviously see how this could become a problem, and we'll see how that's going to pan out.
So how do we? Let's have a political talk briefly. How do you think this is going to play out? Because the economy is crashing, stock market is crashing. They're putting embargoes in place. They're not going to let the sports teams play.
Yeah, they just got banned.
They got banned from FIFA
and UEFA. So they originally, and I think they did it in a few, maybe the prior Olympics or in Tokyo, where they didn't come in as Russia. They were the United Federation of Russia. And so they were trying to do that with the FIFA, with the World Cup is going to be this summer. And yesterday they ruled like, no, if you can't participate anything with the Russian name. And so they've been banned from that in UEFA. And they got games to qualify for the World Cup in the next couple months. So, it's just a shame for these athletes as well.
And the oligarchs, they're freezing their accounts all across the world. They're trying to freeze their accounts, cancel their passports, kick their kids out of private school. The reason why the ruling class is so important is that their society is a little different than American society. There's always a ruling class, but they really have like a real ruling class where it's like a select group of people that became tremendously rich after the fall of the Soviet Union and like billionaires. So these are like the guy that owned the Brooklyn Nets and they own sports teams. And even when we was coming to London, it was like the most expensive flat in the world, which they call apartment a flat. 280 million was bought by a Russian billionaire. So they have property and they have businesses all across the world, in Asia, in Europe, in America. So now to stop their money internationally, because they do a lot of stuff internationally. So to stop their money internationally, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Kremlin, because the only thing that people really respect in this world is money.
Yeah.
And now when you start to, play with people's money, it's like, all right, you're taking this too far. So that's the theory, where it's like, before it escalates into a physical war, let's do economic war. So I'll start, Ian. What's your thoughts on the geopolitical landscape? How do you think this is going to play out?
It's not going to be good for Russia until China says, hey, we're going to back them. This will set the stage for China to potentially invade Taiwan. That's what I'm really worried about. At first, I didn't think the sanctions were going to matter, but Biden, I have to admit, I've been hard on the last 5-6 weeks, swift with this. Like, they kicked off the banking system. Like you said, the money, it's $1 trillion in assets that are frozen.
Yeah. They said it's unprecedented in 48 hours. I was in the cab today, and they were saying like Europe, America kind of been soft on like freezing the ruling class's money for 20 years. But they was like in 48 hours, it's kind of unprecedented. The level of...
Switzerland got involved, which they never do.
Yeah.
I really hope Russia and China do not team up, though. Because if you even think about like worldwide and how much like land China owns, especially in regards to Africa and stuff like that, like that's going to be insane.
Scary.
My personal opinion is that it de-escalates pretty quickly because they're already in negotiation. I heard a diplomat from Ukraine and Russia, they're already in conversations. Yeah. And I think, Putin, it was just like a force of power, flex of power. But, it's a situation that he can't win. And I don't think China's going to fully just jump in it because it's probably not going to be advantageous for them either at this point. So I think it kind of de-escalates. I hope it de-escalates, but I think that if I had to put a bet on it, it will de-escalate in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. But it's interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the same day that this invasion happened, there was jets flying over Taiwan from China. And so, I mean, the timing of that, I don't know how coincidental that is, but
I don't believe in coincidences.
It's pretty interesting, right?
Yeah. And then China hasn't declared that they didn't agree with Russia's move. So, Russia's like Omar from The Wire. Everyone's afraid. He's the bully walking up the block with the gun, but it's like they don't have enough power to take down Ukraine. U.S. should have defended Ukraine, but they're technically not an ally, so I get it. Ukraine is technically... I understand Putin's perspective because he feels like so much has been taken from his people and his country that he wants that land back, but it wasn't thought out strategically enough. And then when you have the entire world putting a spotlight on you to then attack you, and to win a war, you need allies.
Yeah. And like I said, China, they're not stupid.
No.
Even if they really, really want to back the situation, they're looking at it like he's like a mad dog right now, and the whole world is against him. It's probably not the best time to just publicly link it. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but keep your eyes on China and Taiwan. Also, TSM, we talked about that before.
Yes.
That's my biggest fear is that they'll invade and take that property over. And once they have it, then what? If they get that chip manufactured, that is a hell of a
you're talking about. And we used to, I remember when we were starting to do Market Mondays, when we were speaking about TSM, we were like, it's 50% of the world's chips, 50%. But as, the supply chain has dwindled, it's now like almost 60% of the world's chips. And so you can imagine if this country even gets invaded, what that now does to the world supply chain as far as semiconductors. So it's interesting, man. Like these geopolitical issues become real financial issues really quickly.
But it's also important for people to educate themselves on a broader scale because everybody's up in arms about this situation, But I mean, every country has a history. Yeah. I mean, Puerto Rico still is a U.S. territory without the full rights of U.S. citizens. And I used to live in Hawaii, which was actually a real country before it got annexed. Yeah. Not that long ago, 60, 50 years ago.
It's not that long
1945.
Yeah, you just literally took a country, Alaska also, but Hawaii is like a full nation with kings, a whole monarch system and everything. And America just came in, changed everything, put them under the flag. Yeah. So it's we kind of have...
Where'd they learn that from?
Huh?
I said, where'd America learn that from?
Britain. Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's it's important to be fully educated and know,
And that's two interesting points no one is talking about. We'll touch on them quick, but President's son had a business in one of these countries, and also the Vitalik of Ethereum is Russian.
Yeah. He spoke out about the Russian. He said even though he's Russian, he doesn't agree with what Russia is doing. Yeah. He'll probably never come back to Russia again.
Yeah. Well, he said he didn't have to. He's like, Ethereum's neutral. I'm not for this.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.